Tonight on Sports Night in Auburn, we take a look at the upcoming week as Auburn football goes head-to-head against UGA.
Stay tuned for women's volleyball and soccer.
All of that and much more.
Sports Night in Auburn starts right now.
Auburn, Alabama, the best atmosphere in all of college sports.
He drives, it's lit.
Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn.
That ball is gone deep to the left.
Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn.
Sideline going to the end zone.
Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn.
And welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn.
Good evening and welcome to Sports Night in Auburn. I'm Faith Richardson.
And I'm Micah Farmer. There's a lot of sports news happening on the Plains right now, so let's get right into it. You ready?
I'm excited.
Let's start off with football, why don't we? Auburn football opened SEC play this weekend against the Texas A&M Aggies on Saturday. Unfortunately, in a tough road matchup, the Tigers lost their first game of the season, 27-10. The first quarter ended with the Aggies up 6-0 after two early field goals, but Auburn went into half down by just 3 with a score of 6-3. Texas A&M then came out swinging and dominated the second half. The Aggies scored 14 points in the third quarter and held Auburn to nothing. The Tigers struggled offensively throughout the entire game, with Coach Freeze playing all three quarterbacks. Peyton Thorne, Robbie Ashford, and Holden Gariner all saw the field, and none of them were able to complete a touchdown pass.
Auburn's sole touchdown came from the defense, trailing 20-3 in the fourth quarter. Freshman Kegan Lee forced the fumble with linebacker Eugene Asante catching the ball and running a 67 yards for the touchdown. This play was all over social media after the game when replays showed that Texas A&M head coach Jimbo Fisher was on the field when Asante almost crashed into him. Although the lead was cut to 10, a 79-yard run set the Aggies up for another touchdown late in the fourth quarter to seal the win. Not only was Texas A&M's offense hot, but their defense had 7 sacks and 15 tackles for loss compared to Auburn's 2 sacks and just 4 tackles for loss. The Tigers look to come back this weekend and pull off the upset against number 1 Georgia. The Deep South's oldest rivalry is coming to Jordan-Hare with kickoff at 2:30 and airing live on CBS.
Howdy, I'm Kegan Miller, and another week means more great college football games to look forward to. Let's jump right into it. Starting with the SEC, we have number 22 Florida traveling to Kentucky to take on the undefeated Wildcats in this great rivalry. I think Kentucky could hold them close for a little bit, but ultimately Florida will outgrind them and dethrone Kentucky. Speaking of rivalry, number 1 Georgia heads down here to the Plains to take on a struggling Auburn. While I think Auburn will try new things this week, it won't be enough to stop the reigning national champions. Lastly, for the SEC, number 12 LSU travels to take on Ole Miss. This one is going to be an all-out Roman Empire-style battle come Saturday, y'all. After LSU struggles against Arkansas this week, I'm taking Kiffin and his boys. I think Kiffin can come up with a great game plan and beat LSU and bounce back from last Saturday's loss against Alabama. As far as the Big 12 goes, number 3 Texas hosts number 24 Kansas, and Quinn Ewers has this game in his pocket, y'all. Texas will be 5-0 after this weekend. In the Pac-12, or quarterback conference, with all the talent they have in that position, we have some action under the Friday night lights when number 10 Utah takes on number 19 Oregon State. This game comes down to whether or not Cameron Rising, Utah's quarterback who tore his UCL in the Rose Bowl last year, will play. He continues to split reps during the week and is questionable to start this weekend. If Rising starts, I'm taking Utah. If not, I'm taking Oregon State, but I don't think Rising's going to start and Oregon State takes this one. Colorado also looks to bounce back this weekend when they host number 8 USC at home. Colorado struggled heavily last week, and I think their struggles continue into this weekend. Caleb Williams has been balling out for 2 years, and he's going to ball right through Colorado. Sorry, Dion. Finally, the ACC. After a tough last-second loss to Ohio State, number 11 Notre Dame will lock in on the number 17 undefeated Blue Devils of Duke. I'm going with Sam Hartman at Notre Dame to hand Duke their first loss of the year. We saw a lot from this team last week, and Duke will need to come out strong to keep up with them, but they won't. Well, that's all I got for y'all today. Y'all excited for this weekend's game? I know I am. How about our anchors? Y'all got an upset y'all want to highlight?
I'm excited to see what goes on this week.
I am as well. I think one potential one you could watch for LSU against Ole Miss.
I think so too. Well, coming up next, we have the cast of the show Strictly Auburn breaking down Auburn football's hot topics.
However, there's a catch. They have to give their opinion on how they feel about a hot topic in just 3 minutes.
Now that's talent. Are you ready to see if we can keep up, Micah?
I think we can. Let's give it a shot.
Thanks, guys. I'm Jake Lazarus here with Connor King from Strictly Auburn. Let's hop right into it. Our Auburn Tigers sit 3-1 through 4 weeks. Let's get some record expectations and predictions for the rest of the year. I'm setting the over-under at 6.5 wins, meaning 7 would be over, 6 would be under. Just reading through the schedule, we got home against Georgia, the #1 Bulldogs. We have our bye week at LSU in Baton Rouge. Then we come home for back-to-back weeks against Ole Miss and then Mississippi State. Then we go 2 road games at Vanderbilt, at Arkansas. Then we come home for our last 2 versus New Mexico State, and then bring it back to Jordan-Hare for the Iron Bowl. Connor, over under 6.5 wins, and where do you see those wins coming?
I have us just over 6.5 at 7. I see us losing to Georgia and LSU on those 2 games, and then coming back to Jordan-Hare, I see us beating both the Mississippi teams in Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Going on that road trip, I do see us beating Vanderbilt, but I do see us dropping to Arkansas, and then we'll finish up and beat New Mexico State right before the Iron Bowl. The Iron Bowl, it's a toss-up for me, but I see us losing this game. It's hard for me to pick against Auburn in that game, but I do have Alabama winning, so I have 7 wins. What about you, Jake?
I'm going to ride with the under on 6.5. So I think we're going to finish with 6 wins. Against the #1 Bulldogs, even in Jordan-Hare, I think the question is whether we cross half field and kick a field goal at some point or score a touchdown. I don't think we win that ball game. Then traveling to LSU, I mean, this Auburn football team doesn't look the same on the road as they did at home against UMass and Samford. So at Ole Miss, I have a hard time believing that our Tigers are going to win in LSU, so I got to hand an L. I think we win one of the Mississippi games. I think we either beat Ole Miss or Mississippi State. I can't give us both. Then at Vanderbilt, I mean, Vanderbilt's one of the worst teams in the country, so we're going to take that game. I don't think this Tigers team can win back-to-back games on the road, so we drop to Arkansas. I give us New Mexico State. We win the games we're supposed to win. Started 3-0 against teams we should beat. We're going to beat New Mexico State in Jordan-Hare. Then the Iron Bowl, I mean, anything can happen in the Iron Bowl. It's Jordan-Hare, it's Auburn, it's Alabama. Anything can happen. But let's be honest, we can't really bet against Nick Saban and this Alabama team. I mean, just the way that our Tigers look, I'm not sure what else needs to be said about that. Connor, you got anything else to add?
I think that anything can happen in that stadium, and I think it's always possible for us to win. Even though I picked against us to win the Iron Bowl, I think that it'll be probably the closest game we have all year. So we're equal to that.
Well, let's hope you're right. But yeah, back to you guys in the studio, Faith and Micah. Thanks, guys. War Eagle.
War Eagle.
Now let's take a look at the Plains to the Pros segment by Joleigh Cavanagh,
where she gives us an inside look at where some of these Auburn football players are today.
War Eagle, I'm Joleigh Cavanagh, and welcome to From the Plains to the Pros. Week 3 of the NFL season just wrapped up with Auburn represented by 27 players on active rosters. So let's get into it. First up on Monday Night Football, the New York Giants played the San Francisco 49ers. Although the Giants were defeated 30-12, Auburn's Darius Slayton played well. He led the team in yards with 3 receptions for 32 yards. This included a 17-yard long catch. Moving on to football Sundays, 9 former Tigers stood out. This includes Tennessee Titans cornerback Roger McCreary. Against the Browns, McCreary had 10 tackles, 1 quarterback kick, and his first ever NFL career sack. For the Titans' first sack of the day, McCreary came in on the blitz and sacked Deshaun Watson for an 8-yard loss. Jumping over to Jacksonville, Auburn favorite Tank Bigsby scored a touchdown against the Texans. Although the Jaguars couldn't pull out the win, this was Bigsby's second touchdown in just 3 games. Then, in an overtime battle up in Baltimore, offensive tackle and former Auburn captain Braden Smith helped the Colts secure the W. Smith has allowed 0 sacks all season and looks to continue that trend in Week 4. Speaking of captains, Sunday's game between the Panthers and Seahawks had 2 former captains going head-to-head. On the Seattle side was linebacker Derek Hall. Hall had 1 tackle, 1 pass defended, and 1 quarterback hit. This was his second quarterback hit in just 2 games. Then on the Carolina side was defensive end Derek Brown. Brown had 5 total tackles and 2 quarterback hits on Geno Smith. This performance gave Brown a Week 3 grade of 89.9 according to PFF, making him the highest graded Panther through the first 3 weeks of play. The Green Bay Packers are loaded with Auburn Tigers and helped them secure the late win against the Saints. First, Tigers safety Rudy Ford had his best game of the season. He led Green Bay in tackles with 7 and had 2 passes defended. He allowed just 1 catch for 4 yards on 4 targets. He was the Packers' highest graded player on the defense with an overall grade of 88.2 and an 81.4 coverage grade according to PFF. Also according to PFF, rookie Colby Wooden ranks 5th in interior defensive line win rate with 7.7% among rookies. Finally, kicker Anders Carlson played a massive role in this win. Early on in the game, Carlson scored a 38-yard field goal. Then, after the Packers had a game-tying touchdown reception, it was up to Carlson to give Green Bay the lead. With just under 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Carlson's extra point was good to seal a Packers win. Moving on to the other brother, Daniel Carlson made history on Sunday. After scoring a 26-yard field goal in the fourth quarter, Carlson officially became a member of the 600 Points Club of the Las Vegas Raiders. He is one of just 6 players in franchise history to reach this mark and one of just 10 kickers in NFL history to reach 600 points in 79 career games or less. To wrap things up, here's the weekly injury report. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers might be without both of their starting quarterbacks on Sunday. The Auburn duo of Carlton Davis III and Jamel Dean are both questionable to play. Davis has missed the last 2 games with a toe injury, and Dean went down with a shoulder injury against the Eagles on Monday night. Another cornerback, Patriots' Jonathan Jones, has missed the last 2 games with an ankle injury and is still listed as questionable to play Week 4. Also, due to Cowboys starting cornerback Trayvon Diggs being out for the season with a torn ACL, Auburn's Noah Igbenogany will be a crucial piece of depth and looks to step up in Diggs' place for Dallas. That is all I have for you tonight. Thank you for joining me for From the Plains to the Pros. Seeing you next week, War Eagle.
Up next, a game day weather report by weather reporter Albert Osorio that you don't want to miss.
Good evening, I'm Albert Osorio and I'll be covering y'all's weather report of the week. Auburn soccer will take on South Carolina this Friday at 6:30 p.m. Expect partly cloudy skies with a high of 83 and a low of 64. The Deep South's oldest rivalry is having its 128th meeting at Jordan-Hare this Saturday at 2:30 p.m. The skies will be mostly clear with a high of 87 and a low of 63. Finally, Auburn softball will have a fall exhibition doubleheader against Snead State and Troy at 1 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. There will be clear skies that day with a high of 85 and a low of 64. That's all I have for the weather report of the week. I'm Albert Osorio, and you're watching Sports Night in Auburn.
Welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn. I'm your host, Micah Farmer.
And I'm Faith Richardson. If you tweeted us the answer War Eagle, then you are correct.
Faith, do you know that Auburn's fight song War Eagle was introduced at the beginning of the 1955 football season and has served as the official fight song for years?
Yes, I did actually. The marching band usually plays the fight song throughout the games and following a touchdown. You might have even heard it from Sanford Lawn at the middle of the afternoon.
Indeed I have. In a shift of events, women's volleyball competed against Florida at home this past Friday. Unfortunately, Florida managed to beat the Tigers 15-17 in a close 5th set that decided the match. Sports Night in Auburn reporters Jakai Spikes and Madison Seidel have more. Take a look.
The Auburn Tigers faced the Florida Gators in one of the most exciting games of the season last Friday. Both teams were ranked in a huge SEC matchup. The beginning of the game started with Auburn winning the first set with a score of 25-20. Jackie Barrett and the Auburn offense did not come to play in the first set. Barrett set up Akasha Anderson with 4 kills. Madison Shear and Bella Bell each put down 3 apiece. Zimmerman helped play a role in putting Florida out the system, impacting the Florida's outside from getting in a rhythm. Yet the Gators still managed to secure the second set and beat the Tigers 26-24 in a very close matchup. With 2,393 fans, the game was the 3rd largest crowd in Auburn volleyball history. Later in the 3rd set, Auburn beat Florida 26-24. In the 4th set, points were going back and forth until Florida ended up taking home the set 25-19, even though the Tigers managed to keep its service errors to a minimum. Chelsea Harmon came out with 2 explosive kills in the 5th. Auburn's defense was ultimately unable to keep up with Florida's hitters. 3 strong attacks from the Florida offense ultimately sealed the deal. Florida managed to beat Auburn 17-15 in a nail-biter game. This is reporters Madison Seidel and Jakai Spikes.
This Sunday, I had the opportunity to cover number 24 Auburn Volleyball's bounce-back win over Ole Miss inside Neville Arena. This marked their first SEC win of the season, and they are now 1-1 in conference play. Take a look. After losing a 5-set thriller to number 2 Florida on Friday, number 24 Auburn Volleyball claimed their first SEC win of the season over Ole Miss 3-1. Despite playing extremely physical and hanging in most of set 1, the Tigers dropped the first set to the Rebels 25-21, but they bounced back to win the next 3 sets. Leading the Auburn defense was Kentucky transfer Bella Bell, who racked up 7 blocks, as well as Chelsea Harmon, who led the team with 8 blocks. And it's no surprise sophomore standout Akasha Anderson led the Tigers in kills with 20. And not too far behind was Madison Shear, who got her 500th collegiate career kill in today's game. The fourth and final set was a nail-biter that ended with an overturned point in favor of Auburn, and a service error by Ole Miss' Julia Dias sealed the win for the Tigers, and they now improve to 11-2 on the season. And the player of the game has to go to Jackie Barrett, who recorded her 7th double-double of the season and a season-high 17 digs. A few of the girls stayed out on the court after the match to play with some of the younger Tigers, as it was Kids Day at Neville Arena. This has been Mikayla Kelley, Eagle Eye TV. The girls are currently in Fayetteville for a tough road test against the number 14 Arkansas Razorbacks. But Tiger fans, don't worry, because they are back in Neville Arena on Sunday afternoon to take on Georgia. Make sure to catch a match this season, because this is a truly an exciting young team to watch. Back to you guys.
Next, we have Eagle Eye's Jack Corbett with women's soccer against Mizzou coverage.
Thanks, Faith. Thursday night was an absolute battle on the pitch between Auburn and Missouri. The game was filled with goals, energy, and one very controversial call, ultimately leading to the Tigers coming out on top with a 3-2 victory. But which Tigers? Let's take a look. There was a battle of the Tigers Thursday night as your Auburn Tigers took on visiting Missouri in their SEC home opener. The energy was high at Auburn Soccer Complex as celebrity Obby the Tiger made an appearance and got the crowd riled up. The game kicked off and Auburn quickly came out as the aggressors. Only 11 minutes into the first half, Auburn's captain Anna Haddock placed her free kick into the back of the net to give Auburn a 1-0 lead. The Tigers would continue to dominate the half, controlling possession for the first 45 of the game. With just under 13 minutes left in the half, Sydney Richards would hit an absolute screamer into the top right bin, propelling Auburn to a commanding 2-0 lead at halftime. However, the Tigers of Columbia would not go down so easily. Just 4 minutes into the second half, Mizzou's Kylie Simmons would get the Tigers' first goal, and the momentum shifted. By the 61st minute, the game was tied 2-2, and it was anyone's game. Halfway through the second half, a controversial call removed Auburn from securing its third goal after the ref ruled that contact was made with Mizzou's goalkeeper. This revoked goal lit a fire under the Auburn Tigers as Sydney Richards would score in the 68th minute and secure a brace. Auburn held off Mizzou for the rest of the second half and won the game 3-2. For Eagle Eye TV, this has been Jack Corbett, War Eagle.
Men's basketball is officially back in action. The Tigers held their first official practice yesterday, and head coach Bruce Pearl allowed the media to film. This marks Pearl's 10th season on the Plains. He has led Auburn to 3 SEC championships and a Final Four appearance in 2019. He looks to add that to the resume with both familiar players as well as new players. Freshman Aiden Holloway is one that looks to make a major impact. He's a 5-star recruit and was named a 2023 McDonald's High School All-American. He has the task of taking over the point guard position alongside Trey Donaldson after Wendell Green Jr.'s departure.
Transfer students Denver Jones, Chaney Johnson, and Chad Baker Mazzara. Returnees include last year's starters Janai Broom, as well as Jalen Williams, and veterans K.D. Johnson, Chris Moore, Dylan Cardwell, and Lior Behrman. The Orange and Blue will have their season opener on November 7th against Baylor in South Dakota. It's trivia time.
Auburn won the first football game they ever played. Who did they beat?
A, Alabama, B, Georgia, C, Penn State, or D, Texas A&M. Let us know what you think the answer is on our Twitter at EETV_sports. Welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn. I'm Micah Farmer.
And I'm Faith Richardson. If you tweeted us the answer Georgia, then you're right. The Tigers shut out the Bulldogs in 10-0 in the game played on February 20th, 1892 in Atlanta, Georgia.
We're for sure going to need some of that good luck this weekend, don't you think?
I'd say so.
Jumping into tennis, the women's team has been competing all week at the Fall Ranked Spotlight in Cary, North Carolina, hosted by NC State. After 4 days of competition, the Tigers had 10 singles victories along with 3 doubles victories. These wins included 2 doubles wins from sophomores Caitlin Caracella and DJ Bennett to kick off the tournament on Thursday. Then on Friday, Auburn claimed 4 singles wins, including number 20 Ariana Arsenault upsetting number 17 Tennessee's Elza Tomase. Closing out the competition on Saturday and Sunday, the Orange and Blue added 6 more singles wins along with a ranked doubles win. Women's tennis will be back in Cary, North Carolina to play next at the ITA All-American Championships from September 30th to October 8th.
Number 4 men's golf has been competing at the SEC Fall Preview in Birmingham since Monday, with today being the last day. After 2 days of the competition, the Tigers were in first place. On the individual side, the first 2 rounds had 3 Auburn players inside of the top 3 on the leaderboard. Number 2 was sophomore Brennan Valdez. Valdez carded a 2 under 69 in the first round and 8 under 63 in the second. He was the Tigers' leading scorer and trailed number 1, Gordon Sargent, just by 3. Then tied at number 3 were freshman Jackson Coy-Vaughn and senior J.M. Butler. This made Auburn the only school with multiple men inside the top 3 and the top 10. Auburn then went into round 3 on Tuesday, competing against number 25 Arkansas and number 7 Vanderbilt. Finally, today was the final round of the tournament, and Auburn and Vanderbilt battled it out for this year's team championship. Auburn defeated number 7 Vandy 3-2 to take home the SEC Fall Preview Championship.
Number 9 Auburn women's golf worked hard maintaining the lead this past weekend, competing at the Mason Rudolph Championship in Franklin, Tennessee. After 2 days of competition, the Tigers are placed in second overall, and redshirt sophomore Casey Wiedenfeld earned the team's best second-round score. She went 4 under with no bogeys on the front 9. Megan Schofield is tied for second in the field for par 5, scoring at 6 under for the tournament. Auburn will take a short break this weekend and pick back up next week before heading to Highland Park, Illinois on October 2nd at the Windy City Classic.
Number 2 ranked Auburn Equestrian won at home this past weekend against the 9th ranked UC Davis. This was the very first win for head coach Jessica Braswell. The Tigers took home the win with a final score of 14-4. After taking a 5-3 lead heading into intermission, the second half had the Tigers go 9-1 between fences and horsemanship to take the 14-4 win. Auburn Equestrian is hitting the road to go to Texas next, facing off with number 7 Baylor on October 6th.
Auburn women's swimming and diving team signed Olympian Elizaveta Klebanovich to the spring 2024 roster. This new teammate is from Russia and has a pretty extensive resume, including an appearance at the 2021 Summer Olympic Games in Tokyo and a gold medal in the 4x50 mixed relay at the 2019 Short Course World Championships. Klebanovich has proven with her accolades that she belongs amongst the world's best at such an early age. Some of these include taking home the gold in the 4x100 mixed relay and the 3x100 medley relay. Auburn's women's team is betting on Klebanovich to bring home some wins to the Plains.
Auburn softball is back in full swing. Sunday, the Tigers host Snead State and Troy in a doubleheader. The first pitch is set for 1 p.m. at Jane B. Moore Field. In more softball news, Auburn released the SEC schedule for the upcoming 2024 season. The Tigers will host Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Alabama. Later on, Auburn will travel to Missouri, Texas A&M, LSU, and Ole Miss.
Lastly, here's some upcoming sporting events happening for the Auburn Tigers. Men and women's cross country is going to a coast-to-coast battle at Beantown in Boston, Massachusetts this Friday. Trust me, you do not want to miss it. Then again on Friday, men's tennis will begin playing in Tulsa, Oklahoma for the ITA All-American Championships from September 29th to October 8th.
That is all we have for you tonight. Make sure to follow our Instagram at EagleEyeTV and our Twitter at EETV_sports. I'm Faith Richardson.
And I'm Micah Farmer. Good night, and thank you for tuning in to Sports Night in Auburn.
War Eagle.